For the second time in Lamar Jackson's career, the Baltimore Ravens lose to an NFC opponent. Not only that, there's some drama afoot inside the Ravens facility. We touch on all of that and more next on Ravens Talk.
Look, this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk podcast. Follow us on Instagram, on YouTube for the broadcast. Said this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk podcast. Not old news, this is new news to the whole world where they ball at. Come and listen to the former writer.
It was a football game with plenty of hype for the Baltimore Ravens, but one that they fell short of, 24-19 to the Philadelphia Eagles, and now lots of questions looming regarding this game, including lots of drama that we need to talk about. Welcome to Ravens Talk. I'm your host, Samuel Njoku. We mentioned it. The Ravens lose to the Philadelphia Eagles 24-19. We find out why that happened. What was the cause? I think a lot of Ravens fans pretty much know the reason for it. But we'll touch on it and talk about what my thoughts are heading into the latter portion of the season. Not only that, but there was some drama during that football game as one player went down. Another one was supposed to step up. The fans didn't see him, and now we know why. We touch on what happened with Diontae Johnson and the ramifications of his decisions and what they may mean for him as the remainder of the season draws to a conclusion. We'll also touch on Justin Tucker. I think we all know why. A huge reason for the Ravens falling short in that game. Should the Ravens move on from Justin Tucker before the season even ends? We'll get my piece on that. But first, Ravens do in fact lose to the Philadelphia Eagles after winning in such a great fashion against the Chargers. They go into Baltimore at home, NFC opponent, against a team that mirrors them in a lot of ways and falls short. If it was any other team in the AFC, I say this would be a disastrous loss. This is a big loss for the Ravens because the Pittsburgh Steelers do in fact win against the Bengals in a shootout, something that I did not think that the Steelers were capable of doing. But to do that, to get that win against the Bengals, and now the Steelers find themselves in pretty decent footing. That December 21st game against the Pittsburgh Steelers still looms large. I think that will be a huge deciding factor about who wins this division. In fact, I'm pretty sure the winner of that game wins the division. But the Ravens still need to get up wins to even make it a point for that to be a game of conversation. I still think they do that. But losing against the Philadelphia Eagles did not help their case in any way. I think all chances of them winning the 2 seed is out the window now. Their main focus has to be to find a way to win the division, get a home playoff game in the wild card round, and let the chips fall the way they may. But there are a lot of things in this game that were very, very, I won't say disastrous, but definitely kept your eyes looking at them a different way, this Ravens team, as the playoffs will touch down. And there'll be a lot of teams that have similar skill sets to this defense that the Ravens need to watch out for. Let's talk on that right now. The Ravens offensive line manhandled. I talked about it all week. I did not think that the Eagles had a disruptor in Jalen Carter. I thought Jalen Carter would be nullified by Tyler Linderbaum. The Eagles still found a way to put Jalen Carter opposite the interior right guard and left guard for the Ravens. Primarily, Patrick McCarry was just schooled all day. He was held. Jalen Carter was throughout the majority of the contest. None of it wasn't called, and that's because pretty much the Ravens found ways to maneuver Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry away from Carter to make it seem as though there was some blocking going on. But for all intents and purposes, Patrick McCarry had a tough game. I think if you're a Ravens fan, again, you hear me on the show all the time, we're all about hard truths here. So let's be real. Carter and company had their way with this Ravens offensive line. And all of the things that we were talking about early in the season about how this offensive line was able to perform against these top-tier defensive linemen are starting to rear its ugly head. We saw it with Max Crosby. We saw it with Chris Jones over at Kansas City. We saw it with Myles Garrett. TJ Watt was a guy who I thought could do some damage, but the Steelers really love to play him on the right side of the line against the right tackle of the Ravens or whoever offensive opponent they face. So not much to be concerned with the interior line in that regard. But when you face teams with interior linemen who can disrupt plays, it makes it very difficult. A lot of people are talking about, well, Lamar Jackson didn't play well. Look at the film. It's very difficult if you're a quarterback to have the success when you have guys in your face at all. And it wasn't just Patrick McCarry. Sometimes I saw Ronnie Stanley out there making it very difficult for Lamar Jackson to set his feet up to make these throws. So what you saw there was a case where Lamar Jackson probably should have ran the ball a little bit more. Probably should have used his legs to force the Eagles defenders to do something a little different, to give the Ravens some chance to maybe get something going with Justice Hill or Mark Clayton. I don't know Mark Clayton, my man Mark Clayton, Mark Andrews. So it's very difficult for the Ravens to put all the blame on Lamar Jackson. In fact, I'm sure they're not doing that at all. Lamar Jackson was the only reason why they were in this game. And the Ravens were in this game early. But unfortunately, due to some missed kicks by Justin Tucker, which we'll get into later on in the show, the Ravens were unable to capitalize on moving the ball down the field, and the Ravens suffered because of it. Make no mistake about it. The Ravens had success in this game, but there were issues with the kicking and blocking of the offensive line that caused this game to go the Eagles' way. Now, I talked about it on social media. The Ravens eclipsed the Eagles in total yards, passing yards, rushing yards, time of possession, penalties. The Eagles were penalized twice as much as the Ravens were in that game. Yards per play, the Ravens eclipsed the Eagles. So everything went the Ravens' way except with the point where it really matters, and that is a scoreboard. The Eagles beat the Ravens scoreboard-wise, obviously, and they move on to 10-2. The Ravens fall to 8-5, and it's a game in which the Ravens really had to win if they were going to keep pace for that 2 seed in the AFC. Now that is a distant memory for the Ravens. They have 4 games left to try and seal this division win, get that home playoff game, and let the chips fall the way they may. But again, when it comes down to it, the lack of success in the kicking game, Justin Tucker going 2 for 4 on field goals and missing an extra point. That's 7 points right there. I know a lot of Eagles fans will point to the fact that the Ravens got that touchdown in garbage time, but you got to think about it. The Ravens went for it on 4th down primarily because the Ravens didn't have the lead. If the Ravens made those field goal kicks, even one of those field goal kicks, the Ravens play this game very differently. It becomes a lot closer in aspects. The third quarter of this Ravens game really showed you where this game was really trending towards. And I think that if the Ravens and Eagles do face each other again in the Super Bowl or another time 4 years from now, then you'll see the Ravens play this a lot differently. I suspect that the Ravens will play kind of similar to what the Eagles have done and had success with, and that is that nickel package with Cooper and Eugene. They'll do something similar, and that's their big nickel package. They'll need to get something out of Marcus Williams to stop this run game, to slow it down. The Ravens had success against stopping the run. I think Saquon Barkley had about 4.7 yards per carry, which is pretty decent for a running back against a formidable run defense. So shout out to Saquon Barkley. But a way that the Ravens could have success on the ground and defending a guy like Saquon is to have 3 safeties. And that means that they'll need to lean on Marcus Williams. And do you want to do that in the Super Bowl? This is all hypothetical, of course. The only way these 2 teams will meet again will be in a championship game. But that's something that the Ravens will need to consider moving forward against some of these other teams. I don't think there's any other team really left on the schedule or in any facet in the AFC that matches what the Eagles are able to do. So that may just be a pipe dream, but something to consider weeks down the road if the Ravens and Eagles do make it to the championship. I suspect that the Ravens will have some packages in place where they'll have to have Marcus Williams on the field because that run game was definitely something. Now, speaking of the defense, we said it here. The pass defense, Zachary Orr, he's back. This Ravens pass defense has come to play. If I had to tell you, since Kyle Hamilton moved to that safety position permanently with Ardarius Washington, what's the number 1 pass defense in the National Football League over the last 3 weeks? It will be the Baltimore Ravens, who were dead last in pass defense the previous weeks. After that Thursday night football game against the Bengals, the Ravens have turned the page with their pass defense. They're starting to see things that you saw last year with his team. The Ravens are playing a lot of too high safety looks. Sometimes they'll keep the safety down. I saw a lot of times Kyle Hamilton shoot down inside the line of scrimmage to help with the run stopping and keep Ardarius Washington in single high coverage. And that worked with this Eagles team who doesn't really have that great of a pass defense. I feel like Hurts had only 118 yards passing in this game, which is crazy. That's what a great pass defense can do to a quarterback. And of course, the Eagles didn't need that passing yards to get the win, but that tells you that this pass defense is back. They let Jameis Winston, Gardner Minshew put up huge yards. So it's no disrespect to the Eagles, but to have this defense back to the way it was, very enticing if you're a Ravens fan. But another huge reason for this Ravens loss, and I don't want to make excuses. I know Eagles fans are likely watching this. Rashod Bateman went down. Now, the Ravens were moving the ball with ease pretty much in the first quarter until Rashod Bateman went down. And then the drama happened. When we come back, we'll touch on that. What was that drama? What went down and what the Ravens have done as far as consequences go for the drama that went down. We'll touch on it next on Ravens Talk. All right, guys, welcome back to Ravens Talk. Again, the Ravens lose to the Eagles 24-19. Huge loss. Cannot be overstated how great of a loss this is because the Ravens essentially are now 2 games back in the division, are officially out of the running for that number 2 seed, which is highly coveted considering the number 1 seed will likely be the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, in my belief, are probably going to be one and done. So that 2 seed will likely, in my opinion, have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Ravens unable to get it done against the Philadelphia Eagles. A large reason for that is because of Rashod Bateman's injury and what that did to the offense. Now, Rashod Bateman is one of the greatest separators in all of the sport. The Eagles love to run man coverage. Stopping the run is their MO. Ravens had a great chance to get a great replacement in with Diontae Johnson to come in and spell for the injured Rashod Bateman, and they probably wouldn't have lost a beat. Of course, that connection between Lamar and Johnson is not yet there because they traded for him mid-season, but that threat of him being there will likely have helped tip the scales in the Ravens' way. I'm not saying the Ravens would have won with Diontae Johnson in there. I'm just saying their chances for it greatly improved because of his skill set and what the Eagles likely try and do to you on a play-by-play basis. But Diontae Johnson was not in the game, and some people speculated that was likely because he hasn't had a lot of game time, and that because of the crucialness and the imperativeness to get this win, that they chose to go alongside Tylan Wallace and Nelson Agholor. Now, there's nothing wrong with Nelson Agholor and Tylan Wallace, but their skill set is more likely for those zone coverages where they're wily veteran savvy, can help them get between the zones, and sometimes they're able to make something out of nothing, something that we've seen Tylan Wallace do a plethora of times. But to not have Diontae Johnson in the game at all, well, that just spelled trouble. And today, albeit Wednesday, when the Ravens released their statement on social media that confirmed what many believed to be the case, Diontae Johnson decided not to play on his own merit. He refused to get in the game. Now, this may have been because he was tired of not being featured primarily. I mean, let's face it, Diontae Johnson is a hell of a receiver, and he might want to be in those games more and more. But in the Ravens' defense, he hasn't really got acclimated to the offense. This is a very complex offense. And if you're in this offense, you have to be a guy that's willing to block, be that selfless guy. And we've seen nothing but selfishness from Diontae Johnson in the past. So it's no surprise that Diontae Johnson has found it difficult to get on the field, but to outright refuse to enter the game when you have a chance to showcase your talents in pretty much a prime time moment. Well, that didn't sit right with the Ravens, not at all. And because of that, they have suspended him. The Ravens are on the bye this week, so he will not play the next week against the New York Giants. And what that does in the locker room remains to be seen. Lamar Jackson was pretty much in favor of having Diontae Johnson in. I'm sure he would love to have him in the game. I heard some rumors from reporters that after the game, Lamar Jackson went over to Diontae Johnson to kind of pump him up and get him ready, saying, hey, we're going to need you out there, regardless of whether Rashod Bateman does come back or not. And all signs point to him being back. It doesn't seem to be a long-term knee injury for Rashod Bateman. But regardless, Diontae Johnson is right here to be an added piece to the championship puzzle. So the Ravens don't have time for that nonsense. And we all know John Harbaugh. I mean, this is a guy who will do whatever it takes to make sure that his locker room culture is intact. They're not going to cut him, at least as of this recording. A lot of things can happen between now and then. I'm sure Diontae Johnson is with his agent and talking all types of stuff to get him going, but the Ravens own his contract, and the Ravens cannot afford to let a receiver of his skill set out for nothing. It just wouldn't make much sense to put him in the hands of a championship contender and have to face him in the postseason and all the things that can go awry logistics-wise, and just it would be a bad look to have Diontae Johnson out on another uniform, the Kansas City Chiefs maybe, maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, not Steelers. Steelers hate the guy, but maybe the Bills. There's the Texans. They've had some injuries. Maybe to get some guy in there to help them out. So the Ravens can't afford to have that happen. The Ravens will also be losing down on a potential comp pick. Now, the potential for him getting the comp pick, considering what has happened now, is likely a little low. But if they can get Diontae Johnson active and making a name for him, so this is the contract year for the guy, get him into making plays and earning that spot, there's a chance he could be awarded enough money where a comp pick is awarded to the Ravens. So it's a very tricky situation. It's what happens when you bring in receivers who want to win, who want to get the stats, who want to work. We saw with Hollywood Brown. It's another reason why Hollywood Brown left. He knew that a contract year was coming up and he had to put up yardage and get those targets. Now, did Hollywood Brown get a lot of targets when he went to the Ravens? Yes. But if he wants the numbers and acclimates that go with being in the pass first attack, like the Cardinals, I guess, or the Chiefs, where he's currently at, then he wouldn't fit into this offense. So you need to be a selfless player to have the talent that Diontae Johnson has, and to play second fiddle to a Derrick Henry or a Justice Hill in regards to the importance of the offense. Again, I'm spitballing here. I really don't know what's going on inside the castle, but if you had to take a guess, his usage since coming to Baltimore has been low, and I'm sure that it's caused frustrations that probably spilt over in that Eagles contest. So no Diontae Johnson for the Eagles game. How that affects the locker room moving forward is something that we'll be paying very close attention to. Hard Knocks is featuring the AFC North. If you watched the show this week, you know that there was nothing on the Diontae Johnson situation or anything really for that matter regarding the Ravens. And that's because the Ravens own the rights to what gets put on television. The Ravens lose to the Eagles. Diontae Johnson's situation, the missed kicks by Justin Tucker, too much going on. The Ravens don't want their business out there. So you limit the division on your team. I'm sure if the Ravens have won their Eagles game, no drama, you see a lot more of Lamar Jackson, a lot more of John Harbaugh, because they're trying to prop themselves up as they battle with the Steelers to get that AFC North title. But lots of drama. Losing like this will get drama out there. So we'll see if the Ravens can move forward. This is not the only piece of drama for the Baltimore Ravens. There is something player development-wise, I want to say player development-wise, but roster-wise, with a certain guy, certain number 9, Justin Tucker, missed 3 kicks on Sunday. And for all intents and purposes, that was the nail in the coffin for this game. Again, we mentioned it, the defensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles overwhelmed the Ravens offensive line, but the Ravens were still able to move the football despite that. A couple of stall drives forced Justin Tucker to get on the field to make some pivotal kicks. He made 2. He missed 3, including an extra point. Not looking good for Justin Tucker. I'll get you my thoughts on it next on Ravens Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Ravens Talk. Again, the Eagles defeat the Ravens in a conference. Well, AFC versus NFC. Not much to do in way of seeding for the Ravens, but it does give them another pivotal loss. And as we mentioned throughout the show, knocks them out of the contention for the number 2 seed. They're fighting for the AFC North title. That is still within their grasp because the Steelers have a lot of tough games left on their schedule, including a huge December 21st matchup that I believe will decide the division. But with those big games coming up, especially against Pittsburgh, field goal kicking will be the name of the game. Just ask the Steelers, who kicked 6 field goals to beat the Ravens last time. You're going to have to count on your kicker to get it done. Justin Tucker has been unable to get it done. And this game definitely highlights just that. The Ravens had a lot of stall drives in this game, 4 to be exact, that forced the field goal kicker of Justin Tucker to get out there. He misses 2 field goal kicks that were at least giving him 6 points. And an extra point, that makes it 7 points. The Ravens lose by 5. You do the math. I know there's some garbage time touchdowns out there, but the math still maths. You look at it in a way in which the Ravens had to go for it in certain positions. The Ravens had to do a lot of things differently because of those missed opportunities. The Ravens also gifted the Eagles field position. The Eagles started at the 50-yard line and in Ravens territory at times and won very close to the 40-yard line for the Eagles. They gave the Eagles touchdowns. All 3 of those touchdowns were in either Ravens territory or at midfield. So this is a game that really came down to field position, and missed kicks definitely swings field position in the opposition's favor. I'm just saying that was a huge, huge loss for the Ravens, and very much so falls on the shoulders of Justin Tucker. So what do the Ravens do? The Ravens have already made it very clear, at least at this moment, they are not getting rid of Justin Tucker. Early in the game, after the game, I was assessing, and obviously just watching the game, you realize that Justin Tucker was the issue. And I thought to myself, why? Why is it that the Ravens play this game with Marcus Williams or Eddie Jackson? If they perform poorly, they're not quick. They're not slow in benching them or limiting their playing time or what have you. Why is it that Justin Tucker gets the benefit of the doubt? And why is it that somebody who very clearly affected the outcome of the game get special treatment when there's other players who probably work just as hard as Justin Tucker, who are on the field more than Justin Tucker? Why are they held to a higher standard than Tucker? And I think that's a little bit foolish on my part. I think we need to take a step back and realize what we're talking about here. We're talking about a guy in Justin Tucker who has won more games for the Ravens than anyone in recent memory, including Lamar Jackson. I mean, Justin Tucker has been with this team when this Ravens offense has faltered, when Lamar Jackson wasn't healthy to go out there, when Lamar Jackson was struggling to pass the football in the Greg Roman offense, when Lamar Jackson was fighting contract disputes, all of that stuff was going on. Justin Tucker was there as a beacon, a mascot even for the Ravens. A lot of, community service this guy's done. So many things that lead me to believe that Justin Tucker just cannot be cut. There's no way. Justin Tucker cannot be cut. And I urge, and I agree that a lot of Ravens fans echo my sentiment. We're going to ride with Justin Tucker. If the Ravens were to win a championship in a way in which Justin Tucker was cut or moved aside for someone else to come in and win the championship, it wouldn't be as sweet to me. I know a lot of people out there sense the urgency of getting this championship because Lamar Jackson's only going to be good for so long. You only get a limited number of opportunities to have a team this dominant and not win a championship. And I get that. I get the urgency, but nah. If you're a Ravens fan, you cannot win this championship without Justin Tucker. And what a story it would be if Justin Tucker were to turn it around and get the job done. In my opinion, and this is just me, if Justin Tucker goes out there, kicks the field goal to win the Ravens a championship, and he falls short, he misses right, left, I can live with that. I can live with that. I know that's at the detriment of Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson throws picks. Lamar Jackson fumbles the football. Derrick Henry fumbles the football. Marlon Humphrey gives up touchdowns sometimes. So if we're going to give these guys grace, and not just guys, GOATs, right? All pros, if we're going to give them grace to make mistakes, then we need to afford Justin Tucker that opportunity because Tucker has shown that he is the greatest kicker to ever play the game. And yeah, he's struggling now, but the leg's still there. Pundits have seen it. They know. It's a technical issue. It's a mechanical problem that can be fixed. Does he fix it? I don't know. I'm not a special teams guy. Are you going to go out there and find a kicker better than Justin Tucker? Probably not. Will you find a guy that can make it from inside the 40? Possibly. I'm not willing to forego one of the heartbeats of the team for a chance at an extra 3 points. I'm just not able to do it. I don't think that this team is ready to do it. And I know this seems like a lot of the John Harbaugh nature of this team coming out when I speak about it, but the guy's got a point. We're going to ride with Justin Tucker. I think the Ravens did the right thing. Give this guy the confidence to go out and win it. Justin Tucker made 2 kicks. You guys are acting like Justin Tucker missed all the kicks this year. He made a lot of kicks. He's missed them. He's left some head scratchers out there for sure, but I'm willing to live with it. Let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or if this clip has made its way to social media. If you're listening everywhere, find my social media and give me your thoughts. Do you think Justin Tucker deserves to stay? I think he does for sure. At least this year. There's no way the Ravens can cut this guy. You just can't do it. If Lamar Jackson throws 4 picks, do you bench him for the rest of the season for Josh Johnson? No. That's essentially what you're asking of Justin Tucker this year. I know I'm comparing apples to oranges in your opinion, but to me, it's not. It's very, very similar. Tucker is the GOATest of GOATs. He's the greatest of all time who's made some missed field goals. And he cost the Ravens the game on Sunday. Will he cost the Ravens the game against the Giants? Who knows? But this is a Baltimore Ravens 2024 team that has Justin Tucker planning all over it. And something tells me when it's all said and done, Tucker's going to be the guy to get the job done for the Ravens. And it's going to come down to a kick. You heard it here first. The Ravens season will come down to a kick. And my money is on the greatest to ever do it to get the job done. We'll see. When we come back, we'll get final thoughts about the week that was and look ahead to a bye week featuring some teams that Ravens fans may want to root against. We'll touch on it next on Ravens Talk. We're back on Ravens Talk. Lots of drama in the Baltimore Ravens community. Diontae Johnson suspension. Justin Tucker struggles. 8-5 Ravens team looking up at a Pittsburgh Steelers team no one expected to be where they are, but the Ravens are still in position to grab the AFC North Championship. I'm wearing the sweatshirt the last time the Ravens won it. So now the question is, do the Ravens get it done? We shall see. There's a Giants game coming up that I think everyone will predict the Ravens to win, but there are games coming up against the Texans and Steelers, Browns including, who's look good, that will likely decide the fate of this team. I'll echo it again and again, that December 21st matchup decides the division. It is huge. But with the Ravens on bye, there are 2 games this week that the Ravens will need to pay attention to. And that is the Steelers versus Browns. Browns beat them the first time. After 2 weeks, they meet again in Pittsburgh. Ravens fans, I'm sure, will be rooting for the Browns to get the job done. I think the Steelers get it done, but we'll see. The Browns are looking good. They went toe-to-toe with the Broncos, who are not a slouch on defense. I think the Browns get the job done. I hope the Browns get the job done, but I'm picking the Steelers to do so. But if you're a Ravens fan, definitely rooting for the Browns. And the Bengals play the Cowboys on Monday Night Football, but the Bengals are pretty much out of contention for the postseason. So, of course, root for the Bengals if you're a hater, but that game really doesn't matter. We'll see what happens now. We'll see what happens in this division because, again, I think regardless of the outcome of this Steelers-Browns game, that December 21st game will decide the division. Steelers, of course, losing that game will give the Ravens some wiggle room in terms of seeding. The Ravens are on the bye, so there's nowhere the Steelers can go. Nowhere the Ravens can go. The Steelers have to decide whether they go up and down. And that will depend on their inter-division performance. Again, this is not out of the reach for the Ravens. Everything the Ravens need to do are right in front of them. The Ravens still, after 3 weeks, had the best pass defense in football. Crazy to think about, considering where they were at the start of this season. But Zachary Roy and his team has got things under control. This offense is starting to slow down. Let's just call a spade a spade. Lamar Jackson, 2 of the last 3 weeks haven't looked great, and they have played some pretty stiff competition in the Steelers and the Eagles, so that's a lot to do with it. How many times are you going to play a defensive line such as the Eagles and Steelers? Well, we play the Steelers on December 21st and maybe again in the playoffs. So, yeah, you're going to get some opportunities to test yourself. So, very interested to see what the Ravens do with their interior offensive line. My money is that they stay the status quo. Patrick McCarry and Daniel Falele. We'll see what they can do. A lot of fans clamoring for Ben Cleveland. I'm done. I'm done talking about it. Let the Ravens do what they want. It's up to Lamar Jackson to get it done. That's all there is to it. He has some guys now in skill positions to get it done. It's up to Lamar. Get the job done. That's going to do it for us here at Ravens Talk. Sorry that you guys had to witness that terrible loss against the Philadelphia Eagles, but, game's the game. You play the game and you win some and you lose some. The Ravens have been here before. 2012, no one thought the Ravens would win the championship the way they were playing against the Giants. Remember that Giants game? Ooh, awful. Jim Caldwell's first game as offensive coordinator. I was in the press box and at the locker room following that contest. The Ravens are looking very sorry. And turn things around. This may be another step in the right direction. And this team is 10 times as talented as that team was when they won the championship back in 2012. Ravens still have everything they want into their reach. Will they get the job done? We will be along for the ride on the journey. So stick around. We'll have lots of more Ravens talk, and we will see you next week. Follow us on Instagram, on YouTube for the